Howdy, roofers, and welcome to Roofer Growth Hacks, the podcast that's dedicated to highlighting those in the roofing industry, learning how they overcame growth challenges with creative growth hacks, connecting them with others in the roofing industry. I'm your host, Chris Hunter, founder and chief marketing officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. Well, I got a little story for you. Dr. Jessica Stahl is the pioneering organizational psychologist who has dedicated her career to scaling contracting companies through innovative leadership and team development strategies. As the founder of Ignite Results, Jessica brings a unique blend of academic expertise and practical insight, helping roofing businesses not just grow, but revolutionize their approach to talent management and organizational success. So be sure to listen up as Jessica shares some awesome growth hacks. All right, Jessica, thank you so much for coming on to the Roofer Growth Hacks podcast. Really enjoy this. I think this is going to be really a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this for the last month, so glad to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, why don't we kick this off with, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your entrepreneurial journey, what you do, all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah, so currently I own a company called Ignite Results, and we do everything people and process. So we really focus on contractors, but the majority of our business is roofing companies. And I didn't really set out to be an entrepreneur, but every single person in my family is an entrepreneur. And anytime I would have problems in corporate America, they're like, oh, you just need to quit. And so one day I was like, yeah, let's just quit. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I went to school. I'm an organizational psychologist. I spent 10 years in school. I was a professor at Clemson.
Wow.
And really, besides that, all I knew was roofing because my family, we own a big roofing company here in Nashville, Music City Roofers, and I had been working with the company for maybe 6 years at that point. And I was like, well, maybe there's an opportunity to do organizational psychology in roofing. And that's really how Ignite Results was born.
Interesting. So, what does that look like? What is organizational psychology for all of us who are listening that have no idea?
Yeah. So it's really the study of people at work. So the psychology of work behaviors. So you kind of have like your abnormal psych that's more of like looking at mental disorders or child psych. There's a lot of different avenues of psychology, but it's how people respond at work. So things like motivation and teamwork and HR and leadership, all of the mindset and behaviors that come from that at work.
That's interesting. So as you bring in, new clients and you talk to other roofing companies, you talk to the owners, I'm assuming
Hmm.
on this. What
Yeah.
what is the biggest issue that you see as people are coming to you?
Yeah. I see. I mean, and I think the issues are dependent on the size of the company. I think
Hmm.
there's different problems at different business stages. Uh, really between that $3 and $5 million mark where some of our clients sit, that's being able to properly delegate and have the right systems in place.
Hmm.
So, building a team between that 3 and 5 million mark is so crucial. So having the right job descriptions and the right SOPs in place, and it's always process before people. It's never the other way around. So bringing in people and creating a process around the people, that's not going to work. We have to have the process first and then fit the right people into that process. So I think that's one major issue I see with a lot of roofing companies.
Okay. Okay. And you had mentioned leadership mindset, and what I I that's one of my things that I've got to work on, that I know for a fact, and every single person that I talk with that, are entrepreneurs, that's, we get in our own heads, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So how do you help people with that mindset and really getting into a good mindset for delegating those processes to the people?
Yeah. So I think it's like looking at where you're at personally and professionally. And it when we're thinking about delegation, it all comes down to trust. Like that's really like the foundation of any relationship, and whether you're in the workforce or personal, like how do you build trust?
Mhm.
And a lot of that is just honest communication. What I see sometimes is people, especially the men that I work with, like really holding back what they have to say or
Mm.
doing like some type of explosive communication because they've let something build up so long. So I
Right.
think like really like proactive communication is one of the keys to building trust. And I think like as far as like the mindset is not letting the past issues with employees or clients then carry over into the next day. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times when we're carrying that stress from the past so close to the chest, any little thing is going to trigger from the past. And then
Yeah.
we can't really have that positive communication in the present because we don't, and a lot of times we're moving so fast. Like in roofing, there's just so many moving parts all the time.
Yeah.
So if you're not really intentional every single day to be in the present moment, then you're just naturally going to carry things over. So I think, I highly recommend a morning routine. That's something that I developed myself over the last 6 months, whether it's meditation or reading a book, anything that gets you centered.
Okay. All right. So you mentioned proactive communication, and I know that that's something that, I mean, I'm sorry, the roofing industry is very male driven, and I want to
Uh,
say that, you know, I'm not good at communication probably because and I want to say this because I'm a male, but it's just, how do you coach people to be better at being proactive on their communication? What does that actually mean?
Yeah. I mean, so whenever I'm working with clients that are dealing with conflict, and I deal with this a lot because I work with private equity firms and they're
Mm,
acquiring other companies and conflict arises. So really, like the first question is like, I'm asking, what do you hope to gain out of this? Is it to be understood? Is it to repair a relationship? Is it to, create something new together? What are you hoping to gain out of this interaction? And then phrase it from there. Because if you're not super intentional about what you're hoping to accomplish, it's almost like even going into a meeting with an agenda.
yeah.
It's understanding, um, like, are you going in just so you can get your feelings heard? I mean, maybe that's the right thing, maybe that's not, but like really considering, playing the tape through of how when I communicate with this person, how are they going to be interpreting this, and is it going to get that result that I'm looking
Right.
for? Even with customers, like we want repeat business, we want
Mm,
referrals. They may be wrong, but there's a way to communicate with them and tell them that they're wrong,
right.
and not just blast them. And now we have a 1-star review on Google.
Right. Absolutely. And so going into every meeting with an agenda, right? And asking that question, what do you hope to gain out of this? Is that to employees? Is that even to customers?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know, it has to be like such a formal agenda, but
Yeah.
like really like asking yourself, like when you're interacting with everyone is like, what do I hope to gain out of this? And I think it goes back even to a deeper cause of, is what I'm doing aligned with my core values? I think like being really clear and revisiting your core values on a daily basis, a weekly basis, and acting from those core values is that's super helpful. So it's like, yeah, is this conversation I'm having, is it going to get me what I want? Or and asking, is this conversation consistent with my core values? Like if I want to promote teamwork, if I want to promote customer service, if I want to promote integrity, is what I'm saying in line with that?
How many of those businesses or business owners that come to you actually have those core values set? Like they know exactly what their 3 to 5 core values are.
Yeah, not too many actually. And that's I speak a lot on building team culture, and I've written probably, I don't know, maybe 400 to 500 core value statements. So that's
Wow.
something that we do with almost all of our clients. We've worked with
Right.
about 80 contractors,
Okay.
and it's more than just having a word on a wall. Like
Yeah.
anybody can just be like, oh, integrity, that seems to be like so popular.
Yeah.
Honesty, like, but
Right.
what does that mean to you? So I really like that. And just like asking the questions like, what is more important than money? That's a
Mhm.
really like, key question that I ask. Like you're not always going to own this business. When you pass it on or you pass away, somebody else takes it over. How do you want to be remembered? And those are like some
Right.
really key things is we get so caught up in these daily stresses that we just think they're such a big deal. I do it myself, but it's like just remembering like this isn't forever. Like eventually you're not going to be doing what you're doing. How do you want to be remembered when you're gone?
And that's a really good way to think about it. And I know all entrepreneurs, right? Not just roofing company owners, not just that we get going on the day, right? And we just get caught up in everything.
Hmm.
And yeah, if you don't sit back and think about your business every once in a while and work on it, work on these core values and intentionally think. And I love how you were saying that, earlier on and have your be intentional about your day, right?
Yeah.
Um,
I think as entrepreneurs, we all start with great intentions. Like
yeah,
that is every entrepreneur doesn't just create a business and like, oh, I hope this tanks.
right,
Like we all start with great intentions, but we don't always remain intentional. And that's the
right.
thing. That's really the key is that consistency every day.
So beyond a morning routine, well, actually, let's describe your morning routine. What do you like prescribe to your clients, right, that you're coaching? What morning routine is the best?
Yeah. I mean, I think whatever you can do consistently.
Hmm.
So that's like consistency is the key, whatever that looks like. And I think it really has to be tailored to the specific person. So, like, the end goal of that morning routine is to be focused and to be feeling good. So we make much better decisions and we can think
Hmm.
a lot more clearly when we feel good. So how can we elevate the mood in the beginning? So whatever
Yeah,
works. So a lot of times, my clients will exercise. For me, I can't get to the gym in the morning. Like after
yeah,
12, I can go. And I have to put that on my calendar during the week and schedule my gym time, or I'm not going to go. For me, it's like what I had been doing, I would say for the first 4 years of my business, I would get up and I would get on Facebook and then immediately compare myself to everybody
hmm,
else's Facebook
yeah,
ad.
right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not enough. I haven't done that in the last 6 months because I started a meditation practice.
Okay.
And I think like doing a consistent 20-minute meditation for me has been super life-changing for a couple reasons. And one, it helps me concentrate and get back into the present moment. And two, it keeps me from just digesting garbage in the
Yeah,
morning
yeah,
of whatever Facebook tells me. Like I'm just more in control of my day then. Mm.
yeah, absolutely. I know. And I'm guilty of it too, getting on Facebook and you just sit there and you're
Oh
like,
yeah.
okay, next reel, next reel, next reel,
Hmm.
next reel. Oh, Jim did that and said that. Oh, Jim,
Uh-huh.
whatever.
Uh-huh.
So, um, yeah, absolutely. And to me, a morning routine, staying consistent with it is well, when it's hard, right? I mean,
Mm.
you've got to really set that time aside, or else the day kind of catches up with you real quick. Um,
Yeah.
but I agree with that. Getting in the right mindset, getting into a positive mental framework, right, if you
Hmm.
will, is probably the key to how to win every day, I think.
Yeah. I think like with entrepreneurs, there's just so many things that are uncontrollable.
Mhm.
And so being in control of how you react to things is really the key for
Mhm.
success. And like we're in a spot in our culture and just where we're at is everything moves so fast. And we
Yeah.
have to be able to respond appropriately, communicate appropriately. And it's just so much easier without all the noise in our head of all the negativity.
Yeah.
And that's really something that I've had to work on. My house flooded in September. Like lost the house, lost, everything I own, my
Man.
car, and it like I didn't even realize like how much that impacted me until like everything was gone.
Yeah.
Um, and that's like I would say like I've grown so much as a person because it was either like, just give up at that moment and just like throw in the towel, like, oh, like I'm a victim of circumstance, like that's a super easy place to go of
Yeah.
like just victimhood, or it's like I'm gonna have to gain new coping skills, I'm gonna have to develop a spiritual practice, I'm gonna have to keep going, and moved into a second apartment and I'm working. I have a mattress on the floor and a cardboard box as a desk
Yeah.
for months. I lived in 9 places in the matter of 6 weeks,
Wow.
but I'm still traveling, I'm still signing business. And it's just like when you're faced with those circumstances, it's either kind of like grow or go. Like
Yeah.
that's it. So I'm pretty like passionate about it now, is like having that morning routine and like you know just reinventing who you are when you're losing kind of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's, I can't even imagine, what you went through in September, and it sounds like you're kind of still dealing with that mental,
Yeah.
stuff, right?
Yeah, because now we're in the rebuild process, and then the
Yeah.
insurance came back, and of course, oh, we're not going to cover what needs to be covered. They're like, we're going to give you $70,000 to rebuild your whole house that's completely gutted, and there's nothing in there. And of course, this is what the insurance does. But I feel really lucky that I have a network of contractors that I have a public adjuster, I have an attorney in the industry, I have my contractors. Like,
Yeah.
I'm very lucky to have these relationships because there's so many people in Florida right now that are completely lost and just at the whim of the insurance company
Yeah.
they're not going to be able to rebuild their house. They don't know, they don't have these resources. But I do feel really lucky and blessed to be in this industry because it, I would say the industry just rallied around me to with support, like sending me cowboy boots to coming within 12 hours. I had 3 contractors at my house, just making
Wow.
sure that I'm okay.
Wow.
So, I try to remember that when I'm like, I did lose everything, but I've gained a lot of relationships and just realized how loved I am through that process.
Wow. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. Well, Jessica, I've got to ask, kind of switching gears a tiny bit here, right? What are some of the common mistakes that you see roofing contractors make, and how can they avoid them?
Yeah. So I think this is one that you'll relate to as well, is they don't really have a good system when they're getting great leads coming in
Mm.
to go and sell those leads. There's a big
Yep.
disconnect. And I think that our industry is full of people like digital marketing. You kind of have like the guy in your mom's basement, or this like master salesperson
Mhm.
that's really creating such a bad reputation for digital marketing in the roofing industry. And then on top of that, it's people not understanding like how to, set appointments, run the appointments, and follow up on the appointments.
Right.
So I work a lot on the sales side of things.
Yeah.
And I just see, and I'm sure you see this too,
Mhm.
that big disconnect from lead to sale to follow up.
Absolutely. That's the very first thing that breaks when they hire us, right? And we let them know this is going to break, right? And we're going to see how good that your systems actually are, right? You told me that you answer every single phone call.
Mm,
Mm-mm. Nope. Nope. I had an owner once, that, side note, that said, you know, he had someone answering the phones, but they were only picking up, 1 out of 10 or so calls. And he tells me, well, this month I'm going to answer every single phone call. This is the owner, right?
hmm
We looked at the report at the end of the month, 0 phone calls that he had actually picked up. So,
hmm
and it's just indicative of, we're all busy. It's hard when you're a contractor to slow down to even answer the phone sometimes, right? So it's
hmm
important, yeah, to have
Yeah.
that staff in place, right? Or
hmm
something in place like a call center. But yeah, anyway, sorry, I can go off on that.
I know, I knew you were gonna like that one. I think the other one is like people, like I talked to a company yesterday and they were like, we're gonna make 5 million this year, and they've
Mhm.
sold 0 jobs. They're brand new. And
Wow.
I'm like, that's great. Um, but you need systems in place and a
Yeah.
storm because that's
Yeah.
pretty much near impossible. And I don't even think that's smart to try to go
Yeah.
from 0 to 5 in the first year if you are brand new.
Right.
Um, so, like, a lot of times people are like, I want to double my business. I'm going to get more door knockers.
Hmm.
So, what they do is they post some crappy post on Indeed,
Hmm.
get whoever. They don't really do an interview process. They're like, it's called warm body recruiting. So, they
Right.
bring those, like, the anybody with a pulse in. Then they put them in a company shirt to go represent their brand. So now these
Hmm.
people that you don't even know, there's no
Right.
vetting process, represent your company at the doors. And there's no training either. Because like,
Right.
oh, they're 1099. We don't need to invest in training. It's like we get them and we just throw them out in the field and see what
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
And and there's zero systems involved in that. So,
And that's a quick way to cycle through employees for sure, or even
oh yeah.
1099s, right? With no training whatsoever, just throw them into the fire. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we really started when I started in roofing 5 years ago. I really started a lot around the hiring process.
Hmm.
But then I quickly saw the need for training. So we developed a classroom-based training for both insurance and retail in our digital-based system that includes everything from safety to customer service to sales and door knocking, retail, production, a full training system that when a company when the owner is super busy, when a storm hits, they don't have time to train, that they have a system that they can at least get the basics from.
Right. For sure. Absolutely. So looking forward, Jessica, what do you see as some industry trends, right, that we should be paying attention to, and how can we take advantage of those?
Yeah. I mean, a big one is obviously like private equity
Hmm.
coming in and buying up a lot of companies. I think a company they needs to be sellable. Whether you want to sell your company or not is obsolete. Your company needs to be sellable at all times.
Right.
Like you need to have options. So as soon as you're over 5 million, you are now in the market. Like private equity, they're really wanting, 5, 10 million. They really want companies with $1 million in EBITDA. So depending on your profit margin, it could be,
Hmm.
between 5 and 10 million. But having your systems documented, having your key employees in place, having as many W2s as possible,
Hmm.
having a good lead system, having good reviews, making sure that your company is sellable. I would say that that's super important. Like you need options. And the first step, whether you scale a company or sell a company, scalable, sellable, the first step is to be manageable. And that
Oh
goes
yeah.
like it always goes back to your systems. And that's where we focus a lot of our time on.
Yeah. And and I agree with that. I mean, I talk with 4 to 5 roofers every single day, and I get the whole gamut of people. And when I ask them, how are you getting business in now? I mean, several times I've talked to people that they're like, well, I don't have any marketing in place,
Mhm.
you know, and that's why I'm talking to you, because I want to sell my company, right? Because they know that they can't sell a company if it doesn't have a good marketing system in place. If it's all
Mhm.
referrals and it's based off of one owner,
Mhm.
what are you going
Yeah.
to do, right?
Yeah. It's not sellable. Yeah.
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 Well, Jessica, this has been awesome so far. We're going to pause here for just a second to listen to a message from our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go to roofingsites.com and sign up for a roofing marketing strategy session with me. Okay, and we are back. We're heading into the lightning round. We have one rule only for the lightning round, and that is
Okay.
to answer each of these questions 1 minute. You have 1 minute to answer each of these questions.
Okay. Okay. I'm ready.
All right, you ready? Okay. Number one, Jessica, what is your favorite personal hack? This could be a book, podcast, whatever. Anything goes. We are roofer growth hacks.
Yeah. And I think we touched on it before, but just having that morning routine. So for me, it's meditation, journaling, and then try to work out like 3 times a week. That's how I keep it together.
Love it. Love it. All right. So I'm going to break my own rule here, like journaling, right? And I hear this all the time. What do you journal? What are we doing here with journaling?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just getting my thoughts out, anything that like I'm anxious about, or like even some of the things that are good.
Mhm.
Um, like it helps me to refer back to just like even having like a gratitude journal, writing things I'm
Mhm.
thankful for, really
Mhm.
helps me to refocus my mind for the day. So,
I love the gratitude journal idea.
mhm.
Okay. Number two question. What is your favorite business hack? Again, anything goes here.
Yeah. I think for me, it's understanding where my time goes. So I'm really big on using my calendar and everything's color coded, whether it's from sales to managing my team to doing client work. And then in Google Calendar, I'm analyzing where my time is going. So, last November when sales were slower, I'm like, okay, I'm spending 4% of my time on sales. No wonder. And now it's like 20, 30, 40% of my time is on sales and it's much different. So I think just using that time analysis function in Google Calendars, that's super helpful to keep me on track.
Love that. Love that. All right. Next question. What is the best advice that you have ever been given? And you get bonus points if you actually tell us how you applied it.
Okay. Um, so I think it's really like a lesson that I learned on the farm, and it's like you have to put in the work. Like that's the advice. Like nothing, like not expecting anything for free. To work hard for everything you get. And I think just like growing up on the farm in Nashville, that's what you learn that from like age 2. Like nothing is handed to you. You're getting up in the morning, you're going to feed the sheep. Like it's you have to put in the work, and that work really does create the results.
Love that. Love that. Well, Jessica, how can the Roofer Growth Hacks family get in touch with you? How can we support and encourage you moving forward?
Yeah. So I love doing public speaking. So if you have events, I speak for ICO, for GAF, for a lot of different conferences. I'll be gone almost all of February doing that. So I totally love doing that. Igniteresults.net is the website, and you can learn more about our services there. And then my email is jessica@igniteresults.net. And I'd love to talk with contractors. If you're a contractor doing over 1 million and you want to scale, then I'd love to talk with you because we have solutions for you.
Well, you heard it right there, roofers. Be sure to contact Jessica if you are over $1 million and you need help scaling. And by the way, getting your business ready to sell, right? Because you want
Hmm.
top dollars.
Exactly. Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, how about that, roofers? Was that pretty awesome or what? I know that I wrote down a ton of notes in my notebook here. This notebook is actually going to be worth a lot of money by, at some point just because of all of the great business hacks that I'm writing down in this thing. Anyway, so Dr. Jessica, thank you so much for coming on, man. That was super, super cool. But she had a lot of awesome things to say. And I'm sure that we could have dug in for hours at a time on a lot of these things. But one of the biggest things that I wrote down in my notebook here is um, in respect to what are the things that we as entrepreneurs, right? And yes, you roofing company owners, you are entrepreneurs, right? That entrepreneurs need to be intentional with their day. Okay. If you want to be successful, you've got to be intentional about how you set your mind frame, your mindset for the day, as well as how you actually set it every single day. Because as we all know, we start our days and sometimes we blink and it's done. And we didn't even know what we actually did. And it was just a whirlwind. Well, if you start your day intentionally, right? And do the things that we need to do to set ourselves in the right mindset for the day, it just makes us way more successful. The other part that she talked about there is to have a morning routine, right? In order to do that for her, It sounded like it was meditation, writing in a gratitude journal, and exercise, right? And she does that every single morning to set herself in the right mindset. Now, everybody's um, routine is going to be a little bit different, but do whatever you need to do, right, to put yourself in the right frame of mind for the day, right? So that we're approaching it from a positive attitude versus a negative attitude. And then the other thing that she mentioned along with that, being intentional, is to be consistent. And that consistency by itself is the game changer. Okay. All right. So next thing that I wrote down was she had mentioned core values are very important. That's something that I've heard over and over and over again from coaches in the industry, is that having core values that aren't just something like honesty, integrity, um, that they actually mean something to you, is super important. Okay. So take some time. This, as this is dropping here, as this episode is dropping, it's Valentine's Day. And basically, this is the time of the year that we should all be sitting down and thinking, how did last year go? How do we want this next year to go? One of those things I highly suggest, if you don't have core values set, make sure you sit down with your leadership team and set them, or sit down with yourself. Okay. Even more importantly, and say, what do I really believe in? What are my core values? Okay. Next, learning how to delegate and trust. She talked about this at the very beginning, but this is so true. I see this over and over and over again with roofing company owners that are, you know, not quite at that stage yet where they have a whole team that's probably them doing a lot of things. It's really hard for them to trust somebody to give things over to. Well, the way to do that, by the way, is to actually write down what the process is and then train that person how to do that process, right? Whatever that is that you're handing over to them. And Dr. Jessica said we need to be proactive with our communications, right? And don't just let things build up, or don't let things slide, right? Until you have to explode on that poor employee. Okay. Be intentional, have your core values set, and be proactive with your communications, right? Those are the three biggest takeaways that I took. Well, that's going to do it for another episode of Roofer Growth Hacks. I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you connect with Jessica online. I also hope that you connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram or YouTube or Spotify, wherever is. If you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes, please give us a big thumbs up, a gig 'em, right? I'm a Texas Aggie, so give us a gig 'em. And while you're out there, head on over to our website at roofingsites.com. And while you're there, you can listen to other previous episodes. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, roofingsites.com. Since 2018, roofingsites.com has helped roofers double their sales by getting their marketing right using the 4R roofing marketing system. If you're a roofing company owner wanting to grow your business, be sure to go over to roofingsites.com and sign up for a marketing strategy session with me. Also, this past year, I published my book, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you're a roofing company owner and you don't have this book in your hands, I will send it to you for free. Just go to go.roofingsites.com and I'll send you a free digital copy of my book. Well, roofers, join me next time when we connect with another great roofing entrepreneur and learn how they hack their growth. Until then, I'm Chris Hunter. Thanks, and gig 'em.